Russiagate is back.
There is breaking news coming from the nation's top spies about the 2020 election. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence, ODNI, just published a report, and two names stick out from it: Russia and Iran.
That's right, the ODNI says President Putin and Ayatollah Khamenei meddled in the 2020 election. But not only them, Lebanese Hezbollah, Cuba, and Venezuela did it too. I know what you're thinking, where's the evidence? Well, the ODNI report doesn't show any, but phrases like "we judge," "we assess," "probably," and "likely" are used dozens of times. Apparently in corporate media, that's good enough. Never mind that way down on the last page, the report says judgments are not intended to imply that we have proof that shows something to be a fact. So it's the opinion, the estimation of the intelligence agencies. The very same intelligence agencies that somehow missed that a giant mob of Trump supporters were openly planning to storm the Capitol building on January 6th. And the same intelligence agencies that said there was going to be a QAnon attack on the Capitol on March 4th that never happened. And the same intelligence agencies that back in November told us that Russia didn't influence the election, the polar opposite of what they're telling us now.
Joining us now is Jeremy Bash, former chief of staff at the CIA and the Defense Department, and an MSNBC national security analyst.
There was no fraud. There were no irregularities.
Various agencies have come out to say there was no widespread fraud in this election.
This has been the safest, most secure election we have ever had. We also know that Russia largely did not play in this election.
It was remarkable. We didn't see the kind of disinformation or disruption that we were worried about from Russia, if not China.
2020 was a very secure election.
But that's all been memory hold because the intelligence agencies and news media think the public has the memory of a goldfish. The report says that Russia's primary effort was alleging corrupt ties between President Biden, his family, and other US officials in Ukraine. Clearly, that's a reference to Biden overseeing the 2014 coup d'etat in Ukraine and then putting his son Hunter on the board of the Ukrainian energy company Burisma, where he collected an $80,000 paycheck every month despite having no background in energy. That's right, if you think that's corruption, you're getting played by Putin. The report also claims that Russian online influence actors played a tricky double game. Not only did they promote former President Trump and his commentary, at the same time, Russian actors criticized former President Trump or his administration when they pursued foreign policies, such as the targeted killing of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. So if you thought that it was maybe a bad idea to start a war with Iran, you're under the influence of Russian propaganda. And when Joe Biden said this about the killing of Soleimani,
the haphazard decision-making process that led up to it, the failure to consult with our allies or Congress, and the reckless disregard for the consequences that would surely follow was, in my view, dangerously incompetent.
He was actually promoting Russian propaganda. So was Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, Andrew Yang, Pete Buttigieg, and Michael Bloomberg. But maybe what's most remarkable isn't what's in the ODNI report, but what isn't. By the standards of the US government, multiple elected officials in the party of Colombian President Ivan Duque brazenly interfered in the election against Biden. Senator Carlos Felipe Mejia tweeted this video of a Trump speech attacking Biden. Congressman Juan David Velez quote tweeted Trump saying, "We will make Colombia great again." Or Senator Maria Fernanda Cabal. In one blog post, she heralded Trump as a leader of the never-ending struggle against socialism and wrote that Biden is leading the way towards the radical wing of the Democratic Party's socialist vision. On her Instagram, she posted a cartoon portraying Biden as a Trojan horse for Bernie Sanders, Ilhan Omar, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who she considered socialist. Cabal was casual and open in her displays of support for Trump. Here she portrayed Trump as an anti-communist warrior against Hugo Chavez, Fidel Castro, and Nicolas Maduro. In one video, she appears at CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Committee, in front of a Trump flag with Herman Tersch, a representative of Spain's neo-fascist Vox party, and whose father was a Nazi paramilitary member who fled to Spain after World War II and was protected by the Spanish dictator Francisco Franco. Clearly, the intelligence community has no problem with a straight-up neo-fascist interfering in the electoral process. The interference from Colombia's far right was happening so frequently that the US Embassy in Colombia felt it necessary to warn them to not interfere in the election.
And 2 Democratic members of Congress wrote an op-ed asking the Colombians to stop interfering.
On her blog, Maria Fernando Cabal pointed out that the US government didn't take issue with former President Juan Manuel Santos, saying he preferred Hillary Clinton during the 2016 campaign.
La candidata Hillary pues ofrece más garantías, pero como digo, no conozco al señor Trump, nunca he hablado con él.
Granted, that was a much more diplomatic approach than the rabid anti-communism of Maria Fernanda Cabal, and was ostensibly based on Santos's desire for the Colombian peace accord to succeed. But nonetheless, by the standards of the intelligence report, Santos's endorsement of Clinton should be construed as interference. So why does the so-called intelligence community tell us that State Department designated official enemy countries tried to interfere in the elections without providing a shred of evidence, while ignoring the mounds of evidence that the US's closest ally in Latin America repeatedly interfered? It's because accusations of interference have nothing to do with protecting election integrity and everything to do with advancing a narrow imperialist political agenda. See, back in late January, Biden had signed an arms treaty with Russia, a necessary step to prevent a hot war, but bad for the image the spy agencies and Western media present of Russia as an evil empire. And the evidence-free media frenzies about Russia poisoning Alexei Navalny, hacking US government agencies, and paying the Taliban to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan, those were getting stale.
I find that we can both operate in the mutual self-interest of our countries as a New START agreement and make it clear to Russia that we are very concerned about their behavior, whether it's Navalny, whether it's the solar winds, or whether it's reports of bounties on the heads of Americans in Afghanistan.
So the ODNI report is a fresh injection of Russiagate bullshit into the bloodstream of American politics, and successfully prompted Biden to talk tough against Putin, even if George Stephanopoulos had to demand it.
What price must he pay?
He will pay a price.
So you know Vladimir Putin, you think he's a killer?
Mm-hmm, I do.
So what price must he pay?
The price he's going to pay, well, you'll see shortly.
If it wasn't clear before, Russiagate is a virtually permanent feature of American politics. It's just too useful to the intelligence agencies and war industry, no matter how transparent the lies are.